Hey everyone, JCS StarCraft here, bringing you Game 3 of the Best of 5 Finals for the Zotac number 21 Weekly Cup between MorroW and SeleCT. Action getting started here on Metalopolis. MorroW going to be spawning as the purple Terran. It looks like he switched up his color for this round. Maybe purple is going to be a luckier color for him. And SeleCT is going to be the red Terran at the 9 o'clock. MorroW is at the 6 o'clock position. So last game was actually very fun to watch from both players. SeleCT with some very strategic micro and great use of his units, as well as doing a great job, I think a little bit of a better job than MorroW in getting the early harassment down and really pulling ahead in the supply count as well as his economy. Something I've really begun to notice in Terran vs. Terran on a very high level is just how much time is spent on the harassment, and the main reason why is because unlike the other races, the only way for a Terran player to catch up when he's behind in supply count really is to use the mules to his advantage. But when you're playing a mirror match and you are behind in SCVs, there's almost no way to catch up to your opponent if you have an equal number of bases. You cannot redistribute your chrono boost. You can't, unlike Xur, you can't spend the time to just pump out drones and mass drones. So something very important in mirror matches is trying to eke out that advantage. Players like Nama will even go with a single SCV later in his orbital, so eking out that single SCV advantage, and then work very hard on trying to get even further ahead with a very early Banshee harassment. Now, some interesting differences between the two players at this point is that MorroW really favors the early Banshees, something that a lot of Terran players favor. SeleCT, meanwhile, has gone with a very interesting build. He goes 1-1-1, doesn't add anything to his factory or his starport, gets a reactor down onto his racks, and just streams out Marines and opts, instead of going for a Banshee drop, goes for a very quick 8 Marine medevac drop onto his opponent's base. Slightly riskier, and should be interesting to see as they are in the left-hand side of the map. So the only thing separating them is this small little chasm, and I think once they figure that out, it's going to be crazy. So here we go. MorroW's scout's going to get across right now, and it looks like SeleCT will be the first one to scout out where his opponent is in just 1 second, as he's going to figure out what is going to happen at this time. Meanwhile, it looks like SeleCT is going to be throwing down his factory as soon as he has enough on both sides, and so very similar builds to open with. Right now, SeleCT going to be moving down across the field. Something very interesting, of course, in StarCraft 2 is the ability to scout out your opponent, a very Sun Tzu Art of War thing. Know as much about your opponent as possible and give away as little information as possible as well. Now, SeleCT is going to be in a world of hurt. I don't even know if he can run up this ramp. Should be pretty interesting to see if he sees anything. Oh, wow, that was crazy. I mean, I was just looking at his point of view, but he ran up there and actually saw the Marines and backtracked out of there, so was able to keep his SCV and scout a little bit later. Meanwhile, MorroW's SCV does run in and is able to see what's going to go down. No oh, excuse me. Notices that his opponent is going to go with a very similar build that he has gone before, namely with the reactor on the racks and pumping out Hellions. Now, I really like this about SeleCT's build, is that he makes sure that he has enough units in case there's any sort of early pressure from his opponent. MorroW actually going to be moving out across right now, probably going to be taking, the Zanaga Watchtower and gaining site there. It looks like he is going to be throwing down the Tech Lab, and one of the more interesting things about SeleCT's build is that he doesn't need to wait for Tech Labs or anything to go down. The timing of the reactor actually is okay for him, because he can make up for the timing a little bit later, and just pumping out the Hellions to do a lot of early harass should be able to take out Hellions versus Marines. Hellions can kite around them all day and pretty much win, although these Marines are going to blast away right now and take out that Hellion as it tries to run by. But pretty equal trade at that point in terms of monetary value. Looking at the units lost tab, it looks like it's a decently even. It looks like MorroW's going to lose one more. And MorroW actually not even going to be using his factory in this game, going for that Banshee immediately with the cloak. Just going to be using that factory as a sacrificial scouting factory. Now, SeleCT does have his medevac already up and running. Going to be sending out the Hellion to attack the front of his base. And I really like this early pressure and two-pronged attack from SeleCT at this point. now going to be dropping down, and because this isn't just a single Banshee, it's going to require almost the entire army of Select to come back and fight. A bunch of SCVs are going down at this point, and Select now just trying to do his very best. MorroW having to pull back his Banshee, and of course showing his hand a little bit, although I'm pretty sure Select knew that that was coming. MorroW really wants to get rid of that medevac as it makes it that much harder to kill the Marines. A very smart move by him as well. The Banshee is getting repaired by this group of SCVs at this point, and now going to be speeding out across the map. I think Cloak is going to be finished in just 1 second. Interesting, it's called Cloaking Field. I've just always called it Cloak, but Cloaking Field, the official name, is going to be finished. Now the Banshee, I think, was on an A move and just hit the first thing it saw, which was that tech lab. Unfortunately, doesn't really help MorroW at this point. And down goes the factory. It's probably going to pop and explode sometime pretty soon. MorroW should be careful with that factory. He really doesn't want to lose it needlessly, and has already given away most of the structures already there for Select. Now MorroW just trying to hang around the outside. There are several missile turrets already in the base as well. Nothing going on the front here. Going to keep an eye on the mini-map the entire game, and forcing that Banshee to retreat at the moment, as well as the scouting factory right there. So both players are actually decently even. Looking at the income tab though, it looks like Select was able to eke out just a really small advantage from that drop. Army size, it looks like Select is up as well because he can pump out the Marines a bit faster. And here comes the second drop from Select. He also has a Banshee now at this point, and this is just going to make it that much harder for him to defend, MorroW to defend this. So coming in right now and just hitting that supply line yet again. All of MorroW's forces have to run in, and MorroW kind of has to be dividing his attention to two sides because there has been Hellion harassment in the front. It looks like Select is just going to let a few things sacrifice. The Raven is now out for MorroW at this point, so the Cloaked Banshee from Select, which hasn't even finished yet, will be detected, but also able to throw down a few auto turrets. MorroW right now is taking that early expansion, trying to drive action away from here because it will be even more vulnerable. This area slightly easier to defend as the flight distance will be revealed before it comes in. And now Select with the Cloaked Banshee finding a nice little nook right there, even though the Raven is just standing on the outside. But just going to be blasting away with the Marines, and down it goes. Here comes the other Banshee as well. Select just doing an incredible job splitting up MorroW's forces with one Banshee on each side. So kind of splitting things out and forcing MorroW to pretty much not spend a good amount of time mining at all. Holding out here and decloaking at the moment. MorroW is significantly behind, even though he has set up his second orbital command and will be able to try to even things out because he can pump out SCVs from both sides. Needs to spend a significant amount of money to do that. Looking at the units lost, 29 over 19, but more importantly 1450 over 1500 in terms of the in terms of what is going down for the income, and just going to be that much harder for MorroW to replenish. He has to constantly try to pump those SCVs. The Banshee attacks and returns again, still trying to kill more. Banshees on both sides, cloaked right here. There's only one Raven out onto the field.